I remember we were in Star Wars land and my brain had broke. So I was like just making Star Wars puns, like couldn't stop rattling them off. And no one stopped me. I think they liked it, but I was like, I can't stop. Why did Han Solo send his soup back to the kitchen when he was at a restaurant?
I don't know.
Because it was chewy.
Ha ha!
Thank you so much.
I think that's It's so exciting to watch you go from like SNL and like your UCB web series and stand up. And I was a big home economics person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And like Agatha All Along. I guess where we can dive in is kind of like, how did you find what your path in this industry was going to be?
I kind of found it by stumbling into it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really like following the fun. Like I did improv in college and then knew what UCB was and then moved to New York and just kind of immediately dove in and was like, oh, this feels like cozy and like, you know, like-minded people. A lot of my best friends I was meeting through the theater, and then eventually was like, oh, wait, everyone I've looked up to, or like people who are like on SNL or on Mad TV or on Conan, like people who are doing things that I would want to do came from this kind of training.
Yeah.
So then I kept doing it hardcore and eventually it was like doing commercials and auditioning for TV and then getting TV roles and then getting movie roles. And yeah, it kind of just spiraled into me doing things that I really enjoy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that like the process of going from improv to like, and now we're going to sit down and write sketches and now we're going to sit down and write a web series. Like, that's a very different skill set. So how did you kind of find what worked for you in that?
I kind of tried everything. My first year in New York in 2009, I was like taking improv classes and sketch classes and stand-up classes and trying all of them out. And it's interesting how they all influence each other. Like I feel like my improv training helped my sketch writing because you learn how to like find the funny pretty quickly, immediately. And then my sketch writing helped me with my stand-up where it's like, you know, we don't need all this like exposition in the beginning. We just get straight to the point. And yeah, I feel like all of that helped me figure out the things that I like and how I like to do it. And, you know, it still was like trial and error for years and it still is. But eventually I started finding things that other people found funny too.
Well, it's also like a process because like, you know, anybody in New York in the comedy scene or any kind of artistic industry in New York, it's not the heyday of New York when apartments were like $60 a month. So then you have like weird survival jobs and things like that. So I'm curious, like in that environment, how are you finding the balance to like keep going when like you're also having I don't know what your survival jobs were.
Yeah, I had a few.
Yeah.
I worked at a couple clothing stores. I was a babysitter. When I was first moving there, I signed up for this AmeriCorps program. It was Public Allies, and it was like nonprofit work in the city. And that was fun and hard, but, you know, was stable, and I had food stamps, and they helped me pay off my student loans, and that was really helpful, extremely helpful. Yeah, I just did like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of Craigslist stuff, a lot of side writing gigs, improv coaching. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, I don't think I have to do all this stuff because then I was starting to get like commercial gigs and like actual creative money started rolling in.
Yeah. Was there a moment where you thought like, I've made it. I don't need to go back to survival jobs again.
My last survival job was a clothing store. I got fired because I was bad at my job. I didn't want to do it. I would rather be performing or auditioning for things so I can perform. And I thought I was transparent about that. I don't know if I was. In my mind, I was like, everyone knows I'm not going to stay here. So I would show up late. I did not learn the register well. Math is like not my strong point. And so I was constantly like overcharging people, undercharging people. Managers would have to clean up my mess all the time. So they rightfully fired me. And they were so nice and they were like, we'll help you get unemployment. I was like, thank you. Like, you don't have to. I did not help you guys, but that's so nice. And so they helped me figure out how to get unemployment. And then I just kind of rode that wave while I was still auditioning for stuff. And that was able to like sustain me enough to be like, okay, this is now my focus, and I don't have to like spend hours of the day doing something I don't love
Right.
and taking away from my practice. So yeah, that was the last survival job I had.
Yeah, I worked at the Gap on 68th and Broadway for a stint and was not good at it on a lot of levels, including that it was winter and I'm allergic to wool.
Oh,
So there were like parts of the store I couldn't be in.
that's really funny.
And they really hated that. Because like, well, we need you. I was like, no, I can't breathe there.
Yeah, like I actually can't.
Yeah. And so it's just me in the baby section folding teeny sweaters that were not made of wool because babies also don't like wool.
Oh,
Yeah. So that was just, and then they're like, we could, and the other thing that I got in trouble for, which is such a weird thing to get in trouble for, I'm too short.
Oh,
So they couldn't find me because you'd see the displays.
that's really funny.
Yeah. I was told I needed to wear a higher heel shoe, and I was like, you don't pay me enough. I was it's minimum
Yeah.
wave. I'm not wearing a high heel shoe for 8 hours. Get out of here.
Also, just make shorter displays.
Yeah, it's
why
the
are you
baby
hiding
section.
people? Yeah.
What are you doing? Honestly, it was like I was like, no, this is fine. You don't need to find me.
That's really funny. Yeah, I'd prefer it not, actually. I worked at Starbucks, and I don't like coffee. And I never really drank coffee.
Yeah.
It just wasn't part of my life. But like, you have to do a taste test as an employee there
okay.
to just know how to describe it. If anyone's like, what does this taste like? And you have to like have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And so I did the taste test, and it'd be like, what does this taste like? And I'd be like, dirt. And they're like, okay, what about this one? I'm like, burnt dirt. And they're like, you can just be a tea master. And I was like, thank you so much. I'll do that.
I've heard you talking in your stand-up about that you were Pluto at Disney World.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
This was while I was still in college. It was the Disney College program.
Oh, okay.
And so I spent a semester and a summer at Disney World. And I was a character performer. I walked on stilts. I did puppetry. It was really cool. I was looking for something because I was studying theater in college, and I wanted to do something abroad. This was not abroad, but it was, in a different place.
Yeah.
and it was really fun. And I do feel like it like boosted my confidence. I got to be in front of an audience every single day, whether my face was visible or not.
Sure.
But still like performing for them, and it was really fun. And it was like kind of teaching me how to like keep the performance level up all the time.
Oh, yeah, like a stamina thing.
Yeah, like even when you're not in costume, they want you to like kind of be a representative of the park and the company.
Sure.
So yeah, I do feel like it helped train me for like other roles that I did in the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And did it give you a newfound respect for the people in Times Square that wear the costumes all day?
I don't know. I feel like they don't have the same kind of discipline as the costume people in the park. Like, I've seen Minnie with her head just up in Times Square, and I'm like, well, this is ruining the magic. I can tell.
You got to commit to the bit.
Yeah, not committing at all. This is not Minnie. This is Paul.
Right. My nieces came to visit for the first time ever, and we were approaching Times Square, and I wanted to like prepare them for this. And I was like, hey, there are these people, and they wear costumes, and it's what they do for a living, and that's very cool. But if we get close, they're going to want to take pictures with you, and then they are going to try to charge you for those pictures.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get close because that's not what we're doing. We're on our way. We're going somewhere. We have a plan. I was like very cool about it. And we turned the corner, and I think they were like excited, like costume people. They've been to Disney World. We turned the corner, and I watched them look at me, like half of them have their heads up. And we walk past everyone, and we're not 3 blocks. They haven't figured out the 3-block rule yet. They were new to New York. But we get past everybody. We're definitely out of earshot. And the older one just turns to me and goes, that was not a good-looking Elmo. I was like, yeah.
That Elmo's been through some stuff.
Yeah, that Elmo's seen things.
It's a hard life for Elmo in New York City.
Yeah, that Elmo didn't grow up on Sesame Street.
No.
He's from a different part of the borough. It's been so fun to watch you, go into all these places and do all these things. And, like, I loved home economics. And you guys did a Disney episode. What was it like to go, like, back to the park in, like, this very different setting?
It was really cool. Yeah, we couldn't shoot until the park was closed. It was, like, empty. And that was something I hadn't experienced before. And it was very cool to, like, kind of get, like, a backstage exclusive of the rides and stuff like that. I was loopy as hell because we couldn't start shooting until like 1 a.m. And I remember we were in Star Wars land, and my brain had broke, so I was like just making Star Wars puns, like couldn't stop rattling them off, and no one stopped me. I think they liked it, but I was like, I can't stop. Let me see if I can remember any of them. It was like Why did Han Solo send his soup back to the kitchen when he was at a restaurant?
I don't know.
Because it was chewy.
Ha ha!
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
think
you
that's
so much.
I have only had to. I shouldn't only. I used to do production a little bit, so I've worked late nights there, but mostly it's like a set visit. And so imagine you're shooting that late at night, and then also there's press there.
Yeah.
And most of us aren't good about regulating ourselves, so we have been awake all day. And then it's just like, it's like 2 a.m. and they're bringing an actor in, and none of us want to be there now.
No.
It's too late for this.
Yeah. I think that did happen on the shoot. Like they were because it was such
You
a.
guys did an EPK, so probably.
We did do, an EPK at the park. Yeah, loopy as hell. But someone has it. I don't know if I've even seen the footage, but we were like, trying to struggle through it.
I mean, you didn't seem loopy. I watched the footage to prep for talking with you today
nice.
about it because I was like, I had never seen it before, but I was like, oh well, but yeah, no, you were talking about like how the kids who played your kids on the show seemed just genuinely excited.
They were, yeah. That was like so nice to work with these kids and kind of like watch them grow up on this show. Like, I don't want kids.
Yeah.
Don't want to be a mom. But loved playing a mom. And these kids were awesome and so professional. And like, I can't imagine like, being a child and like, I already have a job.
Right. And then but one day your job is going to Disney World. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I was so glad that they got to experience that and like, run around and actually be kids.
Yeah, totally. Well, I understand that, like, as an actor, especially somebody who's, like, an actor and a writer and a stand-up and who's doing all these things, it's not like you have, like, a clear chart where you're like, this is my 5-year plan and this is obviously how I follow things. But I'm curious for you, like, how do you even try to map out stuff, or is it just kind of following the flow of something?
To me, it's following the flow. I do think there's some people who have 5-year plans, and I wish I could be one of those people. I don't. I've never been like, I can see what this is. Like, I just kind of like, this feels nice and organic, and then we'll see what the next step is when I get there. But yeah, I do want to like create my own work and like do more stand-up and direct and produce. Yeah, I have like goals like that, but not necessarily like in 5 years I will have my own production company and like I'm sure that would be helpful if I did. But yeah, I do have goals in general, and then the projects that I'm working on and trying to see if they can get made.
One of the things I thought was so interesting is you did First Woman and then Agatha All Along, and it's interesting because there's a through line of witches there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about witches.
Yeah, let's talk about witches.
Like, how did First Woman? How did you? I think there's such a lovely flow to that special, and like the callbacks in it are so good. But I thought it was so interesting watching that and Agatha, and kind of that you were already in this space when you auditioned for Agatha, right?
Yes, yeah. I had already finished filming the special, and then I auditioned for the show, and then I got it, which was amazing. But the special hadn't been released yet, and I remember Mary Lavanos, the producer of the show, and Jack Shaver, the creator of the show, were both in Atlanta, and I was there doing stand-up, and I was like, you gotta come to see me do stand-up. And they came, and I did some of the material from the special, and they're like, wow, we didn't realize how perfect this was. Like, you were already thinking about the stuff we're thinking about. And it was so cool to like be a part of a project where everyone else was also very nerdy about witch history and like lore, and we were just swapping articles with each other and like readings and talking about like different things that could influence the character or the story. And it was really exciting. And yeah, and it just is kind of like kismet that I was already in this headspace, and then the show comes about and feels very appropriate.
I'd love to talk more about Jen's character in the show, because I feel like there's nods to things that's kind of like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we get a flash of this doctor, and we know that Jen was a midwife. And I'd like to hear more from your perspective, because it sounds like you were very, like, I know from your special, you love a research hole.
Yeah.
So I'm curious from you, like, what was the backstory in your head for her?
I mean, they already had this idea of making her a midwife, and I had already read that a lot of midwives were labeled as witches in order to oust them from the medical community. Mm-hmm. So we were having a lot of like interesting conversations trying to figure out how to tie that in and have a if you know, you know kind of nod to that. And yeah, it was just like interesting research to be like, for a really long time, women and other mystics and people who are like, spiritually inclined have been demonized for their talents and kind of pushed out in a way where they can't keep helping their community. And now we have to rely on men or people who say they are relying on science to take over. And that's really unfortunate. And I'm glad we can represent that in Jen's story. And I hope we get to see more coverage of that because it's quite fascinating. And it also still happens. But yeah, I'm glad that we were able to kind of tackle that a bit in the show.
Yeah. Well, there's been talk of like, is there going to be a season 2? Have you heard anything? Are you interested in doing one?
I'm so interested. I've made it very vocal that I would love to keep playing this character in any capacity. But I haven't heard anything. We'll see.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Well, it was also something interesting in your special where you talked about, I mean, essentially the both like sexist and racist bias in American medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's reflected in Jen's story too. But like, that was interesting to me to hear you talk about in a stand-up special where like you're able to do it in a way that's funny, but it's also telling, like setting up, I feel like breadcrumbs to the crowd of like, I'm going to teach you this thing, but like hopefully you're going to follow me on this.
Yeah, I do like being able to share my story through my stand-up, and I do want it to be kind of a way to connect people, and hopefully they don't feel like they're being preached to or like it's a TED Talk. Like, I'm not trying to actually teach anybody anything. I'm just kind of sharing my story. But as a result, people can't help but compare their own story to mine while they're listening to it. And then I get people after the show being like, oh my gosh, I went through the same thing, or like, I know someone who went through the same thing, or that reminds me of something I went through. And it's all kinds of people who are in my demographic and also people who are not. And that feels really beautiful. And I kind of like comedy for that reason, that I feel like it connects people in a way that you wouldn't usually get to connect on that kind of level.
Yeah, I think you being so open in the special about your own experience, and then there are parts where you actually open up to the crowd. Now that I'm about to take on this topic, I don't love that I said open up. But the section in the show where you talk about when you're discovering your own body as a young girl, and you ask people like, "What household item have you used?"
Yeah.
And to have people actually shouting that out, I thought was really funny. And you like respond to each answer in a very funny way, but not in a way that demonizes any of these impromptu exploration tools.
Yeah. I want people to feel like it's a safe space.
Yeah.
And I think it's really funny to ask people, what was your like kind of self-coming of age story? Like, the first time you masturbated or, used a tool to help you masturbate. What was that like? And I've done that question across the country and got some really fascinating answers. And I think it's funny because, like, we don't usually talk about that stuff on our own. And then when you do it in a crowd of people and realize, whoa, other people have done this too. Or I use that exact same object. Or I didn't realize other people were exploring themselves like this. I'm not alone.
Right.
I think it's a nice feeling to feel like, oh, okay, I'm not a freak. I'm not alone. I don't have to be embarrassed. Like, of course, we're all humans. We're like animals. We want to explore and feel pleasure, and it's okay to talk about it.
I think that's a great gift that you've expressed in your comedy, where it is talking about these things that make us uncomfortable, but in a way that's inviting people into it instead of pointing at it and being like, ha, 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 ha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that. And like, I'm just curious for you when you're whether it's like, 'cause you also have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if it's whether like the podcast or your stand up, or how do you decide what's for the world and what's just for you?
Kind of a gut feeling, I guess. Sometimes there are things that I have shared on stage where I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. Nope, never again. But it's like trial and error. And then I do like having a level of privacy because I have had things be exposed or feel like kind of picked apart that didn't feel good. And so I'm trying to like make sure the things that are important to me and feel sacred to me stay that way. And they aren't necessarily for everybody. And that's also just like, I think, how everyone should want to be treated. Like, not everything's for everybody.
Right.
And I don't want to commodify certain parts of my life. So it's like, I'll try to be very careful about like, okay, you can have this. Like, you're allowed to be in this part of my life, but like, only when I say so.
Yeah.
When I'm ready.
I think that's really important. I think especially with, over the course of the past 20 years, we've seen how social media has evolved to where it seems like people definitely expect that they should have access to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, when an average person thinks like, well, I'm very open with myself online, it's like, okay, yeah, but what's your audience?
Yeah. Is it just your family or your
Right.
friends or your coworkers? That's, I mean, you know, it's up to you if that's what you want to share. But, you know, if it's like a lot of people, you might have a different answer.
Right. Because it can be really. It's funny because, like, even sometimes, like, I write movie reviews and I make silly videos and I talk about entertainment. And sometimes I say something that's not, it doesn't occur to me in that moment how much I'm saying about myself.
Yeah.
And then someone makes a comment and all of a sudden I'm self-conscious about something I've never thought about before.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be really jarring. So, like, I can only imagine when, like, you're literally touring the country doing stand-up and stuff and you try something and then you're like, especially in an era where everyone keeps pulling phones out and stuff like that, that has to be
Yeah.
kind of alarming.
It is, yeah. I mean, honestly, we're in a moment in time where I don't think we're supposed to know this much about each other. We know so much, like, and willingly. Some people are volunteering this information to other people, but like, there was a time where you didn't know what your high school friend was up to, or like the neighbor down the street if they got married or not. Like, you didn't know until you saw them again and they gave you the update.
Right.
I don't know if we should know all of this information about so many people. I think it's okay to be like, I'll figure it out when I see them, you know? And if I don't, that's okay, because they're not actually in my life. I might think they're in my life because I see them consistently on my phone, but they're actually not a part of my life, and that's okay.
Yeah. How online do you consider yourself?
I don't post that much, but I do consume a lot of stuff online, and I wish I didn't. I'm trying not to as much, but it's just so hard. There's so many puppies. There's so many people falling down.
Yeah, I lose hours on TikTok, and then I walk away like, what did I even do there?
I know it's a time suck. But yeah, I am trying not to like be so online, but I am not immune to it.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Is there a particular rabbit hole you've been down recently?
I'm very fascinated by like I don't know, there's like a guy who does this like 5 a.m. video where he's like, this is what I do in the morning, and he's like working out, dumping his face in ice, putting a banana peel on his face, and like it's like very edited, and there's so many other people who are also doing that, and it's like all the videos I've seen are men doing this. Is like, this is what I do at 4 a.m. I get up and I do all this stuff to get ready before I start my day, and it's very intense and funny, but also anything that encourages men to like take better care of their skin is great.
That's what I was gonna say. Is this like, is ice to the face and then the banana peel? I'm assuming that's skincare.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly looked it up because I was like, do banana peels help your skin? Some say yes, some say no. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, but it's also like I've seen the videos where like you take the banana peel only if it's organic and you put it in your plant pot and let it be fertilizer. So I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know if those do the same thing.
I don't know. I just cut up a banana peel and put it in a jug of water because the internet told me to. And then I'm going to water some plants that need more love and see if that helps.
I did do that.
Yeah.
I found it helped. It also attracted teeny little gnats.
Oh, God.
So maybe bottom watering is the way to go, which is another thing I've learned from TikTok. This is the thing. Occasionally I get great things from TikTok.
Yeah.
Like one thing I learned was that I grew up with my mom like very intensely brushing my hair after the shower, and it was horrible. And this is, I think, why I still have short hair. But TikTok was like, oh, if your hair does this and this and this, you actually kind of have curly hair and you should be brushing your hair in the shower.
Oh.
And it was like a total game changer for me. So like that was very helpful.
Yeah.
But where are the genuinely hours of videos that I don't need?
Yeah. Yeah, if it was just helpful videos, I wouldn't feel so bad about it.
Right.
But I'm also watching the shit ones too.
Right. Like I'm watching a video where someone's like, here's the problem with what this is going on. And I have no idea what they're talking about. So then I fall down the rabbit hole to figure out what they're talking about. And then when I figure out what it is, I'm like, oh, I don't care about this.
Yeah, I didn't need this.
Right. I'm like, oh, that was more time than I needed to spend on somebody else's business.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
The thing I'm really into on TikTok now, because it's just like, I feel like it's like a brain massage, because it is a person who is chopping something up very, very small.
Oh.
And then they reverse the video. So you see it chopped up very small, and then it goes backwards in super fast mode. Like, and you're trying to figure out what it was.
Oh, funny. I haven't seen these.
I'm addicted, especially because the person who does them is a little trolly, where they will call something, instead of saying a black raspberry, he's like, or a blackberry, he's like, this is a black raspberry. Like, nobody calls it that.
Yeah.
That's not a correct answer. Like, even you got this wrong.
I mean, those are funny because then people are in the comments being like, no, you got that wrong, which is like what they're trying to do. Yeah, it's like rage bait, which I do kind of love those videos too. Like, I'll watch like a 5-minute video of like someone pouring cement on top of a shoe and then drilling a hole in it and putting a marshmallow in it. And then you're watching it because you're like, is it going to be a thing? And then it's not.
No.
And I kind of like, it's like a little sick satisfaction where I'm like, you got me.
Yeah. Like that. All right. It's like, it's the level of prank I'm willing to accept.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, all right, I wasted a minute of my life watching you do this completely complicated and useless thing.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. There's ones where I've definitely shown people videos and I'm like, is this person intentionally mispronouncing this word? Because I'm angry about it and I don't know how justified that is. You know what I mean? And it's usually like food products, which makes me think that they're messing with me.
Probably.
But it's then I'm in the space where I'm like, I'm mad about a thing that doesn't matter in the slightest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they got you.
They did. That's the thing. It's like, and I even did the thing on my phone where it's like, it'll be like, hey, it's been 15 minutes. But it's very easy to be like, that's fine.
I ignore it all the time. I'm like, shut up. I know it's 15 minutes. Let me
I need
live.
them to apply a lock or like a math question.
Oh.
If it's a math question, I am bad enough at math that it's not that I won't get it, but it'll take me enough time that I will actually be like, I could be doing something else.
That's actually that's a really good idea.
Let's build an app.
Yeah. To put on top of your apps.
This is why I brought you here today, Sharks.
Yeah, I like it. Or a history question. Just, something that makes you think. And then you're like, actually, I should just go outside.
Right. Yeah. I'm very big on mental health walks, but the thing that's so frustrating about them is it's like when you're in a moment of anxiety, it's really hard to be like, I'll just go outside.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I know you've talked about anxiety in your specials.
Yeah, I have it.
Same.
Yeah, and I've tried walks, and I guess I don't know if it's the anxiety or ADHD where I'm like, I can't just be doing one thing. So I'm like, this walk has to be productive. I should be listening to a podcast at the same time, or maybe I should call a friend, or like I can't just go on a walk.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Or I create a task.
Yeah.
Because, then I can actually get myself out the door. Because otherwise I'm just like, well, you're just going to go for a walk.
I know.
And it's such a weird obstacle I've created for myself. We're like, you can just go for a walk. But I'm like, well, there was this snack from the store about 15 minutes away. And if I get there, then at least, and it's like I will invent a task.
Yeah.
Or be like, well, I really should be listening to this podcast. Or I did start that audiobook. Or I did, I'll call my mom. And, it's not that it's bad to call your mom.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's a very good point. I have a very hard time doing just one thing.
Same. Yeah.
And
even brushing my teeth, I stretch or work out while I'm brushing my teeth.
I do that too. There's various neck exercises that I do while I'm doing it, and I'm like, no one can see this because this is it's just, what are you doing? And it's just really hard to anxiety just makes you really go. Yeah, it's just it's like you I feel personally, I don't want to speak for everyone with anxiety. I feel personally it's like if I'm not in an activity, it's really hard to function. Like I'm trying to teach myself to actually rest and not just be idle.
Yeah.
Which is the TikTok problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm not resting.
No. Your brain's still very active, and then it also influences your sleep because you're your brain was too active throughout the day and it can't stop.
Yeah, I have a thing that I discovered in college where if I watch too much media, I will have incredibly vivid dreams. And they're not nightmares, but they're so vivid that I don't feel rested when I wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a thing film festivals are hard.
I'm sure.
For a lot of reasons, but you're already sleeping terribly and you're eating whatever food is around, which I'm sure you've been to festivals, so it's popcorn at the movie theater or this incredibly succulent meal that they've had for some party.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in between. Vegetables don't exist. And then, you get back home and you're like, why do I feel like trash?
Yeah, it's because I ate trash and just consumed a lot of stuff.
Right. I ate steak, le poivre, and popcorn for 8 days.
I have been taking magnesium, which has been helping my sleep immensely.
I've heard good things about this.
Yeah. And it gives me dreams, but in a good way. Not like buzzy nightmares, but just oh, I actually am reaching REM sleep now.
Yeah, melatonin I like because it does help me fall asleep, but it does make my dreams more vivid, which is already a problem. So it's a
double-edged sword.
Yeah, like I can do like a little bit of weed. I usually do edibles because I'm not much of a smoker girl, but that works nicely.
Yeah.
That's just like, it's funny because like my parents, they're not into that, and so my mom is just like, "What does that even do for you?" And I was like, "Honestly, it does what Xanax does.
Yeah.
It just brings the volume down a little bit. Like everything is just." I remember when I first got put on Xanax, the pharmacist was like, "Do you have any questions?" And I was just really freaked out. Like obviously, I was being put on Xanax. I was very freaked out, and I was like, I said, "What does this do? Like, what does it do to me?" And she literally just went, "It does this." And that is like the perfect description. And then when a family member also got put on Xanax, like, and it was like a repeat conversation where she's like, "I just don't know what it's gonna do." And I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get on FaceTime for this because I need to show you a gesture."
Look at my hands.
Yeah, just as
this.
Yeah, I was like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I think especially just there's so much information out there all the time that I think it just makes anxiety worse because like your brain has a million directions to go in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to someone recently about like, I guess self-actualization and ascending and stuff like that. It's kind of like what's keeping us from ascending, and I think part of it is like we're in a moment where everything's at our fingertips. So many things are like doing the work for us. So we have so much time where we could just like enjoy ourselves or like do the thing we always wanted to do, but like also we can't because there are too many options. There's too many options to like take advantage of, and we still have to survive.
Right.
So it's like, how do you create and survive and do the things that make you feel joyful and also feed your kids? It's like there's like too many things you have to do and too many things you want to do, and it's a little dizzying.
Yeah, and then the FOMO on top of that, where it's like, I could rest today, but there's a thing, and there's this thing, and yeah, it can just all feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I appreciate how you approach that in your comedy, and I think it's been interesting to continue to see you talking about exactly that kind of evolution. And like we were both at the CCA celebration of LGBTQ film and television last night.
Great. Good job.
I was practicing. But yeah, it was interesting to like you got an award, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
And you talked about kind of discovering your identity over the past couple of years. And I think it's such a powerful story to tell because I think a lot of us get trapped in this idea of ourselves and don't necessarily like have the language to discover that until maybe we're older. And do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I think I was on a self-discovery journey for the last couple of years for many reasons. But I do think I kind of allowed myself the space to like be open to questions where I think maybe for a long time I just think I knew the answer and then realize, oh, wait, maybe I don't. And then also, like, getting off of birth control and, like, letting my hormones do their thing really, like, opened up a lot of things for me. And things felt different. And, yeah, it just also prompted more questions for myself. But I was at least more open to exploring those questions and not just being like, no, it's always been like this, so that's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels nice to feel like free to be my authentic self and also feel like there's a very strong community of people who are supporting this journey, and that feels really nice and welcoming.
Yeah. I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think there are things that we kind of just assume about ourselves because of what's around us. And like for me, I like came out as bi like kind of late, and it wasn't that I didn't know, but I was like in a long-term relationship, so it didn't feel like it was relevant. Yeah. And also people get very intrusive when you announce a sexuality. It's like all of a sudden they feel like your actual sex life is their business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, at some point when I came out publicly, like I got some very predictable biphobic questions about it. And some people got really offended for my partner and were asking him like, did you know? And he very famously was like, the first movie she ever showed me on a date was Chasing Amy. He's like, I mean, like, there were
big sign.
Yeah, he's like, there were clues. It was not a total mystery. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like as I get older, I do kind of like the things that I kind of took for granted that I assume are my identity, and then all of a sudden, you like you said, you kind of take a step back and go like, oh, why am I assuming that?
Yeah. It's it's very funny to like look back and be like, oh yeah, there were signs the whole time.
I did laugh really hard when Wanda was like, "You didn't know, I knew."
That was so funny. Yeah, Wanda like was just stream of consciousness talking for like 20 minutes, and then like included me in her speech and was like, Sasheer, I always knew you were gay. And I was like, just give her time. She'll figure it out. She's not the only one. There's so many people in my life who are like, I mean, yeah, we didn't know because you didn't say.
Right.
But when you did say, we were like, yeah.
That tracks. Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah. No, I saw this is the TikTok thing comes from my neck on this stuff because like things I didn't ever think of as a by trade. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cool. Nothing about me is remotely original. But they were like, oh, do you have a tote bag or you can never find your keys because you have too much junk in it? And I was like, oh, shut up. That's just a New York thing. That's not me. Like,
totally.
But yeah, little things like that where all of a sudden I feel very attacked. And it's like the gentlest of ribbing. And yet I'm like,
I know. I mean, yeah, it is very funny when you're like, oh, I'm just like everybody else in this category. I mean, yeah, I looked at the like Google doc of like latent life lesbians, like, are you a lesbian? And I was like saying yes to all these questions. And I was like, well, I'll just tuck that away for another year. I don't want to talk about that.
I have too many agendas on my mental health walk already.
I can't. Truly.
I have groceries to run.
That for another day.
No, I deeply get that. Yeah, I'm just, it's been so exciting, like watching, not just like watching your career evolve, but also just watching all the ways in which you were able to like explore the world through your work. And like, that's just been super exciting. What do you have coming up? What do you want to talk about?
I'm getting back into stand-up. I took a little hiatus for work purposes, but yeah, I'm very excited to like do more of my own stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to develop stuff with my best friend Nicole Byer, and we are getting our podcast back off the ground, which is really nice. And yeah, I'm just very excited for more opportunities to get my voice out there.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it has.